good evening and welcome to Winterberg in Germany for the first teams competition of the Wiesmann FIBT World Cup season. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Canadian athlete Jessie Lumsden, who's just competed in the two-man race. And Jessie, for all the athletes, drivers, brakemen, this is a lot of fun, this team's competition.
It gives you a good opportunity to participate with the skeleton athletes and vice versa skeleton with Bob, which you don't necessarily get a chance to in any other situation. Even with traveling as part of the federation, you may not see a lot of them, so this is a great opportunity. It's a great event. We really hope to see this push forward and eventually into the Olympics.
Well, what it does, of course, is it mixes up all four disciplines, and each team, you know, you may have an Olympic champion bobsledder, but your skeleton might be the weak link, or your women's skeleton might be the weak link. So you see the ebb and flow of the team's performances.
Well, it truly is that team sport. Everybody relies on each other, and as we see some of the rules here.
Well, there are 4 members per team, a men's skeleton slider, then followed by a women's bobsled pairing. Women's skeleton all run in third, and then they round it up with the two-man competition. And like everything else, it's a total time that wins or loses. And of course, the start order changes after each discipline. At the men's skeleton, the fastest team will go last, and the last team will go fast. So, there's lots of spectators on hand. I'm sure a bit of Wurst and Glühwein keeping them well fed, just like everybody else. Get a chance to take a look at the track and meet our teams as well. Well, what about this Winterberg track? You know, you've put in an awesome start to give Lyndon Rush a chance of winning a medal. There's a lot goes on in that first 50 meters here.
Absolutely, and it isn't, well, not so much new anymore, but they did change the start around 2008, and we do have a corner zero, and this is a very, very important corner coming out of the grooves, especially for the bobsleds, where they have to get their hands on the D-rings and then just get through that little kink. You can't win it here, but you can definitely lose it here. It's a small first, and then coming into number 2, it's a big, big right. You don't feel a lot of pressure in these corners, so it's important for the drivers to be driving very, very precisely, not sliding off the corners too much. You don't have a lot of speed at the top of the track. It will pick up to, for a men's bob, about 132 kilometers an hour at the bottom into the labyrinth. As you come into the Kreisel, it's a little bit different than some of the other Kreisels that you experience. Not a lot of pressure in the hands or into the backs of the brakemen. And as we come down into curve 9, and it almost attaches to 10 right there, and you can have some trouble there. 11 leading up into the labyrinth, 12 and 13, we did see some problems here during the Europa Cup, and in the finish corner 14, it's very important. This is a big uphill corner. You have to make sure you take the shortest distance and come through the finish line.
Well, we talk about this being a downhill sliding sport, but there are 2 uphill sections on this track, one early and one late, and any mistakes there will just crucify your times. Well, we've got 8 teams in the competition this evening. Germany 1, Canada 2, Austria and Germany 2 will be the first 4, followed by Romania, the 2 US teams, and Canada 1 will go last in the first run. That's just the random draw, that's the way they came out of the hat. And then after, they go in reverse order, as we're used to seeing in the second heat of most other races, so the leaders will always be last to go. So we kick off with men's skeleton. Each team has their men's skeleton slider compete, then we reset and go with the women's bobsleigh and so on. So it's a discipline at a time, not a team at a time.
Keep an eye on the start here.
Germany's Frank Rommel, sorry.
Yeah, keep an eye on the start here as Germany's Frank Rommel hits up and gets ready to fire one out. Coming out of the grooves after the bobsleds have been in here, it tends to open up the grooves a little bit. And keep an eye on watching the skidding coming out.
Well, Rommel finishing outside the top 6 in the men's competition here, a race where he has finished on the podium several times before. Germany not having a good weekend on this track so far, only just getting in the medals in the bobsleigh races and in the skeleton races, but not dominant as they might want to be.
Especially we're in Winterberg, Germany. This is a home track for a lot of these athletes. They're expected to know the track like the back of their hand.
Well, a neat and tidy looking slide. Now the sun's dropped below the horizon. We've just seen a beautiful sunset, Jessie. Of course, the temperature of the air comes down. That allows the surface of the track to harden up again. It could be even faster than it was for these guys at lunchtime yesterday.
Well, there's been some polishing going on. I was at the top before we came down to do the race, and they were definitely prepping the sledge just like you would in any individual race. And as we cut to the bottom, we will see the speed 130 kilometers an hour, a couple kilometers an hour slower than the men's skeleton individual race.
Well, the track record for men's skeleton was shattered by half a second, as it has been in the men's bobsleigh, the women's bobsleigh, and the women's skeleton. This may be the fastest ever Winterberg weekend, and it might be one that we'll sit and look back on in our dotage, you know, in 2 or 3 years' time and say, well, I remember that weekend, it was quick. And Frank Rommel, great opening slide for the German team.
Really digging it out at the start. It's an interesting running position that you see these skeleton athletes, you know, attacking the sled at and making sure they hold on, putting that force down into the grooves so they're not popping out and pinballing into down their way into corner one.
Well, now, of course, every team has to try and match or beat Rommel's time. Beating would be the best way to go. This is Canada 2's opener, Johnny Fairbairn.
See nice control coming out of the grooves for Fairbairn. Just a little bit slower than Rommel, but he's going to look to maximize at the top of this track and get a lot of speed coming down into the bottom.
Well, of course, we talk about this being a fun competition because it is very different from anything else that you do. But it's like when you went go-karting as a team just before the weekend. OK, it's fun until they start the engines. And it's the same thing here. It's fun until you get to the top of the ice, and then it's deadly serious.
We are all international competing athletes, and as soon as the helmet and the spice go on, it's business. And that's Johnny's trying to lay down a smoker of a run so he can get Canada 2 into a good position for Jennifer Cicchetti and Christine Bushy, who will be following up in the women's bobsleigh.
Drifting away from Frank Rommel, 4400ths off the leader at the moment. Ooh dear, little rocky down at the bottom. And of course, that affects your speed, as you see coming steeply up here to the finish line. 57.54, so 0.8 of a second back. Well, that means that Canada 2 have work to do.
Not the run that he would have liked, but you look at it again, this is a fun event, this is a fun race. He will be disappointed, but it's another opportunity for him to get on his sled. He's a fairly new driver. He's looking to improve all the time.
Of course, we started the season in North America, USA, Canada, tracks that North American athletes like yourselves know well. Coming here to Germany, lacking a little bit of experience, certainly against the Germans.
Hey everyone.
So it's another run, and that is more knowledge in those grey matter cells. Next up, Austria, Raphael Meyer, one of the youngest athletes on the men's skeleton World Cup Tour, just 20 years old. His father coaches the Austrian bobsled team. His younger brother, Benny, is also a skeleton slider. So this is as much the family business as joining a bakery firm.
Absolutely, and it's good to keep it in the family with these sports, and they get a chance to work together all the time. And as a young athlete, this is a team race is a good opportunity to get more runs.
5:32 getaway. Frank Rommel starting 5:17, so immediately giving away a lot of time. And it's not all about the start here. You've got to drive it too, but having a deficiency at the start is a big handicap.
And coming into that zero corner, talking to Melissa Hollingsworth a little bit before the race, she was talking about how you don't want to get height in that corner. You really want to keep it low and keep it around that corner and set you up for the rest.
92.6 kilometers an hour is 57.5 miles an hour. Head first on sheet ice. This is not a sport for the faint-hearted.
That was a pretty quick conversion from kilometers to miles.
I read it off the screen. I'm not that clever. Okay. 60.2 miles an hour now. 6/10 back. So right about in the same area as Canada 2's Johnny Fairbairn. In fact, just 0.02 of a second. Ooh, that seems to be the victory fireworks going off a tad prematurely. 57.52 slides. So at the moment, we have Germany leading, Austria in second, Canada 2 narrowly in third, but 0.02 of a second between those two teams. So that means that effectively they are tied until the next round.
Well, I think it's the feel-good fireworks because Johnny had them too.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, I was looking at the timing screen and not the TV screen.
I was mesmerized by the explosions.
All right.
A good driving start again. We're looking at this position. It's a unique position to be running in. It can't be that comfortable, but these skeleton athletes are very athletic, a lot leaner than you would see a bobsleigh athlete, a lot more flexible, so you can get that high knee drive in a very crouched over, almost cat-like position.
Next up for Germany 2's team, Alexander Krökel, rookie in the World Cup last year, so his second full season, still just 22 years old. 2011 Junior World Champion. He came 6th in the race yesterday afternoon. And Jesse, after the snowy conditions in training, to come to a clear track yesterday with lightning fast ice must have been some adjustment for all these drivers.
Well, they just got to be on top of their game a little bit more. It's definitely beneficial for the athletes, the push athletes at the start. They like to see some nice, clean, fresh ice, and it allows us to push the sled through the grooves and dig it out a lot better and get those real nice start times to help our pilots get down the track.
Well, look at this, 800ths of a second in front of teammate Frank Rommel. They always say your teammate is your first and biggest enemy, because of course if you're Germany 2, you want to be Germany 1. And at the moment, Alexander Krökel just keeping it level. Absolutely nothing between the two German sliders at the last split, but he's going behind now. Needs 131, doesn't get it, 128. He will be in second, and 2/10 back from Frank Rommel.
Again, the feel-good fireworks.
Yeah, the feel-good fireworks. Won't feel quite as good as 500 euros in the back pocket for the winning team, but...
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is new this year. It's 500 euros for the fastest heat.
Oh, okay, fastest individual heat.
Is it fastest heat, or...?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're right. Well, fastest slider in each discipline, yeah.
Well,
so somebody's getting in the beers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, the alcohol-free Velton's beers.
Yes, we'll save them, save the other stuff for after the four-man race.
Yeah, the Christmas party. Absolutely right. There is Alexander Krökel then, lies second. Germany 1 lead, Germany 2 in second place. And next up we have Romania. Well, Romania taking part in this team competition for the first time this season. Because in fact, this is the first time we've seen any Romanian athletes in the World Cup all year. They didn't come to North America. Budget kept them in Europe, but they haven't been sitting on the sofas.
Well, a few nations decided not to come to the North American 3 races that we had for a few reasons. And even though they weren't competing with the World Cup athletes, as we saw with Beat Hefty winning today, he certainly didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No pun intended.
Well, the other thing, of course, is that we have lost some athletes. I mean, we had Korea, who are learning their trade in North America. They were with us on the World Cup there, but they've not come over here. They'll continue to compete in North America. So these second tiers of sliding, based on the continental regions, are a valuable learning ground.
Hanging it up a little, hey.
Yes, he was a little. Still, not a bad line. He's got his head up, he's got his shoulders up as well, looking for the line into the labyrinth, because that's the real danger area.
A big wave, and you can hear the toe dragging coming through a lot of these corners, and that's something, if you want to stay fast, you don't want any friction on the ground other than your steel runners.
Yeah. Well, the toe dragging, and also in the high-pressure corners at the bottom, the helmet gets pushed down, and the chin of the helmet is dragging on the ice. It's not a great experience as an amateur slider, though. It really makes you feel you are Superman on a sled. You're going so fast, you can't hold your head up.
As we can see, a nice, well, not nice, but a big wave coming through the corner here. You want to hold that pressure all the way through. You're trying to create A to B, shortest distance possible. Use that pressure to accelerate the sled out of the corner.
Yeah, the straighter the line you have round, the less waves. Exactly like driving your road car. The more you swerve side to side, the less you're going forwards. Well, there is Silviu Messarosi. And off very quickly at the top of the track is lightning-fast sprinter John Daly for the USA. This is the USA 1 team, 5:13 start. That's the quickest, apart from Alexander Krökel, who got away in 5:08.
Good start for John Daly. He's going to look to hold those lines as best as he can down to the track. Use the speed. He's holding on by 300ths of a second.
Well, let's see if he can find the lines that he needs to overhaul the Germans. This is going to put the USA right in the mix. Just 200ths of a second behind.
Good aerodynamic profile through the corner there. Hanging it up a little bit in the corner.
Well, at the moment, Frank Rommel has the 500 euro in his back pocket. John Daly drifting away a little. If he gets a good run through the labyrinth, he might close up. High lines, keeping the speed. Not enough at the bottom. Again, you can hear the helmet chattering on the ice. Okay, third place for the USA, 57.05. Just 800ths of a second behind Germany 2 in second. So definitely within shooting distance.
I like the helmet. That's the one thing I do, about Skeleton. They get to custom paint their helmets. He has the nice green metal flake. That'd be a good helmet for my motorcycle back home.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, get some 70s pimp style going on this thing.
Absolutely.
Got the colour-changing duotone paint as well. Well, he was 11th in the World Cup race yesterday, and a third fast slide for him. That's a good run. Next up at the top of the ice is his teammate Kyle Tress. Now, again, Kyle outside the top 10, 13th finish in yesterday's men's skeleton encounter. But at least they now have knowledge of just how fast this ice is going to be.
A two-handed start, switching to a hand. And getting on the sled a little earlier than some of the other athletes competing, but a good start time.
Yeah, 5:15 there. How much momentum has he got on board? 62.4 kilometers an hour, 38 miles an hour. This is from a running start, don't forget. So sprinting at, what, 14 miles an hour, very quickly accelerating, and then that speed barely changes all the way to here, where you fall off the side of the mountain, dropping 3 or 4 stories, picking up 20 miles an hour as you do so. You do that nice literally, pressure. Jesse, in about one corner. You go from 35 to 55 miles an hour. That's some rush.
It is, absolutely. It's an interesting feeling in the back of the sled because you don't feel a lot of pressure as a brakeman, and you're just hoping that you're not feeling skids and slides, and then all of a sudden, boom. You get this speed, you get this chattery at the bottom, and you know you're flying.
Helmet dragging on the ice again for Kyle Tress. 127.8 speed at the bottom. He's in 4th place behind the USA and the 2 German sleds. So USA 1 in 3rd, USA 2 in 4th place.
It's hard to explain to people the pressure that you do feel in a sled, and it's a good example of right there how much force is being put down on the athlete's body to push his head closer to the ice, and you hear that chattering of the chin. I saw Cassie Haresh at the top of the track earlier, and her helmet actually lifted up and gave her a nice little bit of a gash on the chin there.
Nice.
It's something that if you're near a bobsleigh track, go experience it. Most tracks have tour bobs and tour skeletons that you can take, because it truly is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Absolutely right. And you'll find out what G-forces are all about. Well, next up is our 8th team, Canada 1, and this is faceman Eric Nielsen. Top 8 finish in yesterday's men's skeleton race. Again, he's a long-rangey athlete, but he's got a big, fast start as well. A lot of power there, shoulders right pressed down onto the sled. That's what you want, that nice round-shouldered look to keep yourself out of the air.
A nice aerodynamic profile. Eric's the biggest skeleton athlete on tour. You look at, if you compare him, you stand him side by side, somebody like John Daly or Johnny Fairburn. He does look like a bobsledder almost, you know, closing in plus 200 pounds.
He's got a 0.2 of a second lead. That's that big explosive start, and the weight as well. The heavier the object you throw down the track, the faster it accelerates. Nice, neat run, 2400s up on Germany's Frank Rommel.
Losing a bit of time, but still ahead, and a small mistake coming out of the corner.
His hand is creeping into Rommel's pocket for the €500. He's got a chance. He's got his fingers on it. Can he pluck it out of the pocket? Can he take the lead here for Canada? Oh, 0.03 of a second behind. But Canada 1 go into 2nd place.
Put down a great start, a good run, just a couple little mistakes. That's where you're going to lose those hundredths of a second. Skidding, sliding, dragging the toe a little too much.
So what's the German for the beers are on Frank? Because the beers are on Frank Rommel from Heat 1. He's the fastest man. Eric Nielsen, 2nd place. Really making a race of this for Canada 1. 0.03 of a second to all intents and purposes. They are tied. Yeah. Big start from him, 5:09, and a great drive as well. Well, as a Canadian athlete, I'm sure you're looking forward to the next round of action as well.
Well, it was a big day for Team Canada again.
Yeah.
Kaylee Humphries pulling out not necessarily her normal winning style, coming from behind a bit. Had a chance to talk with her a bit. She says she prefers dropping the hammer early and holding on to that lead. And I tried to explain for her, coming from behind is a pretty unique feeling when you get that win, but she prefers to stay on top.
She wants to win by a second every time she hits the track, and you can't fault that ambition. One of our 4 disciplines completed here in Winterberg. 3 more to come. Germany lead narrowly. Stay with us as the women's bobsleds come to the ice next.
Stelle wird starten. Die Mannschaft Deutschland 1 mit dem Frauenbob Sandra Kiriasis und Franziska Mertens. Also in umgekehrter Reihenfolge gegenüber der aktuellen Platzierung wird hier dieses zweite Rennen im Teamwettbewerb aufgenommen, der Frauenbob.
Hey, €1,000 richer now. What would you think when the Canadian came down and didn't beat your time?
Well, I don't think about the money, but just about a good run today. And I'm really happy with the run. Better than yesterday, actually. And a lot of new experience today. And yeah, I'm really happy.
$1,000 for you and your German team's in the lead. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's important that the team is in the lead. So, good. Woo!
Welcome back to Winterberg, where night has fallen once more. We are a quarter of the way into the first teams competition of the Wiesmann FIBT World Cup season. Germany won, leading by 0.03 of a second from Canada won. We've had our men's skeleton. Next discipline on the ice is the women's bobsled. Sitting alongside me is Jessie Lumsden, who finished on the podium in the men's bobsleigh race earlier today. And of course, women's bobsled, Canada got to look pretty happily upon that discipline.
Definitely, with Kaylee doing what she's doing. We're seeing some of the teams coming through here, having some fun.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about with the team race. Little conga line.
That's a bit of traditional Austrian dancing there, definitely. Romanian team, they'll be first on the ice with the women's bobsleds. Great to see them back in World Cup action as well. And USA 1, Holke straight through the shot there, grease lightning. No Holke dance. USA 2 and USA 1 both competing here. Team Germany 1 as well, that's the USA.
There's Holke there.
Yeah, there's Holke. That's Team Canada. Now we're catching up with them.
But Canada stops. There's Neville doing a little
busting those moves.
He's going the wrong way, though.
Uh-huh.
I got another, this is not a Canadian dance.
Oh, okay.
Springer following up.
And the two German teams both going to be very competitive here on home ice.
Well, we talk about how much fun the team race is for the athletes, and after an exciting day of racing, bobsled racing, this is a good way. It's a prep for the men for the four-man race tomorrow, and a little cool down for the women. Yeah, and a good chance for alternate brakemen to get a run as well. They get a race even though they may not be, the number one brakeman. But for Maria Constantin here, Alexandra Grecu, her brakewoman, is not only her first choice, she's her only choice. So Andrea Grecu on the back handles, along with her driver, Maria Constantin. They were the top Romanian sled in the women's race. They beat Romania 1, made the cut, and into the second heat. So good first ever World Cup outing for her. And now first ever team race. It's a day of firsts. A 6:01 start. We will see faster starts as the women progress through. Katie Humphries will be looking at as being potentially the fastest, or Alana Myers for the USA. But you're right, I mean, this young Romanian athlete, it's her first ever World Cup weekend. And in fact, she'll be going to Europa Cup next weekend, so we won't see her on the World Cup again till after Christmas. But she had a neat and tidy drive today, 2 consistent runs, and a little wavy getting into the Kreisel. No major dramas so far. No, it looks pretty good. She is laying down a pretty decent run, and we have a bit of a wave coming up there. We got to be careful of that exit. You can get up into the wood. It can cause problems, especially in a four-man, which I experienced last year, but we won't be this year.
No, indeed. 128.8, decent speed at the bottom as well. Got a little wavy off corner 9 and holds it on the wall through the finish. I guarantee she's never been greeted by fireworks as she's crossed the line either. 58.23, Maria Constantin for Romania. Well, Germany lead, and you can see that Maria is still a rookie driver. If you check out her helmet, not just covered in snow, it's got lots of battle scars on it as well.
Those all tell stories. And we see the wave coming in here and coming out. That catching that second wave puts you high at that pressure at the end there, and it can put you in a bit of a hairy situation. We're going to see the sled come up right almost onto the wood. She's able to hang on, bring it down on the shiny side down.
Oh, yeah. Well, there she is, full of excitement and enthusiasm for her World Cup weekend. And lots to learn still. Next up, the second of our Canadian athletes, Jennifer Cacchetti. And again, she's got her alternate brakewoman with her, Christine Bushy. So, again, you know, you get a race.
And this is an opportunity for Christine to really show what she can do. Maybe get an opportunity, as we see a 574, a big start, coming out of zero and getting a bump, though. Jenny Cicchetti's still a new pilot, still learning the ropes, learning the track. She's only been here once before, but is looking forward to improving continuously. And again, the team race gives her an opportunity to get one more run down this track before going to La Plagne.
Well, she's following that well-trodden path that Kaylee has followed, which is from the back seat to the front seat. And of course, she went back to the back seat behind Kaylee to win the World Championships in February. But now, Kaylee has new brakewomen, and Jennifer is established as Canada's second driver.
Well, there's no doubt about it that Jenny Cicchetti is one of Canada's all-time best female brakemen. Her times that she's pushed in the ice house, very, very good. And as she builds the lead here up to over a second, she'll be real happy as she comes to 14.
Johnny Fairbairn of Canada in the top box as they take the lead. 57.73 slide.
Jenny's not waving. She's signaling to Christine Bushy that there's so much snow in the braking stretch. Let it run a little bit. Don't worry about hitting the brakes too hard.
Because at the end of a long day, the last thing you want is to try and hump the sled uphill in the snow up to your ankles. Yeah, exactly right.
Well, she'll be happy with that run.
Yeah.
She'll be happy. She's a very smiley, happy person. So
yes.
I'm sure we'll see.
Do you know what? That's just one of the things. You know, this is such an exhilarating sport. Okay, frustrating in a way that golf can be, say, but exhilarating in a way that golf just can't match.
Well, when you're winning and losing by hundredths of a second, you're trying to figure out, you don't want to leave any loose ends. You really want to lay it all out the line, and when you finish that run, you want to know, I did everything I could.
Yeah. Sixth after the first discipline, Austria. Christina Hengster now with Inga Versen behind her. And Inga pushed her in the women's race earlier this morning. They had a really good day. Very solid top 10 finish ahead of two of the three German sleds, ahead of Kathleen Martini and Olympic and multiple world champion Sandra Kyriasis, who lives here at Winterberg. That's how good a morning they had.
Coming down 1900s behind, I talked about earlier in the POV that in the top you're not going to necessarily win, but you can lose it very, very easily. Low pressure, low speeds, any type of taps and skids and slides is going to cost you time.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad this race run that she's having now didn't turn up this morning, because that would have dropped her well out of the top 10. This is not a good run. Just staying 1400s behind Jennifer Cacchetti. She has good speed at the bottom, or she did this morning. 129.6 is not enough to close the gap down. 600s back, but she kind of tidied it up at the bottom. Too many mistakes at the top, though. Shakes her head.
You got to be perfect in Winterberg, and it shows coming in out of that corner zero. If you have a skid, if you hit a couple times going to one, it can create all sorts of havoc for the rest of the top of the track. She did do a good job of tidying it up as she got down into the speed sections.
But here, coming uphill, she hits the wall. You know, if you have a skid at 30 miles an hour on ice in your car, that's one thing. If you have one at 70, it feels like a much bigger accident. Here it's the opposite. The slower you're going when you rub the wall, the more speed you rub off.
Definitely, and as we saw in the replay there, high pressure late. And those top corners, you want to get that height early so you can really get that sled out, coming out straight and attacking the next corner, as opposed to sliding out in scrubbing time.
Next up, Alana Myers of the USA with Summer Olympian Lolo Jones behind her. Look at the striding style of Lolo Jones. See, she's got that great rangy hurdler stride and a 5.65 start. That is very quick indeed.
Lolo pushing at the back, it's unique because she comes from the hurdling background. Very, very, very hard knee drive. You can see it. It's almost, she's in a driving piston phase the entire time she's going around. And with Alana at the front, you're going to get a great start. You're going to get a fantastic start.
Well, Alana broke the all-time start record in the women's race this morning. 5.55 getaway, astonishing quick. Now let's see what she can produce. She was on the medals table in second spot in the women's race. And this is a really good looking run. Time drifting away down the bottom. She was 3,700s up. This will be down to 2,300s. Kyle Chess, her teammate at the top. Canada 2 leading at the bottom. And 1,500s up, but she lost about 0.2 of a second on the way down the run. Not as good as she produced this morning, I wouldn't say.
Coming out of 9, she flopped out pretty hard, skipped 10. It pushed her away in a little bit, I think late, if we see it on a replay, late into 11, which can make a lead into a very difficult labyrinth, and you can lose a lot of time there. We're going to take a look at the start here, the driving power, a little kinesio tape on the front right shin, but you can see these little spikes on the bob shoes just tearing up the ice underneath, and the power that she has pushing through her legs, just tearing up the ground and creating a huge start.
Great style from Lolo Jones as well. Head down almost as low as her pelvis, driving forward all the way.
We see that piston action really going.
And another Summer Olympian, newly added to the squad, Tiana Madison here on the back of the USA 2 sled, the USA 1 sled rather, of Jasmine Fenlater. These summer athletes, the 3 of them, with Asia Evans joining the squad this year, have just changed the dynamic of US bobsledding, but that's a horrible first couple of corners, just as she did in the women's race earlier on, I'm afraid. Still not got it right.
Tiana Madison, as a starter, is the smallest out of the new recruits that USA has brought in. Ooh, and a very high late exit there, and it slaps down. It's going to cost you a lot of time.
Well, she was 2,700s up. That's down nearly to single digits as she comes down into the labyrinth. Is she still going to be in the green? Yes, but not by much. Out of 9 and really in trouble here. She's got to get back on top of the sled before 12, or she'll be having the sled on top of her. Just gets it back under control, but she'll have had to have hauled that off the corners and goes 1/100th of a second in the lead.
Well, this is an interesting situation where you see that the athletes may be a little tired from the race earlier, and the mental alertness isn't there that they had this morning. Talking about her brakeman, Tiana, earlier, is that she's one of the smaller ones, but her top-end speed is so fast.
Well, here she gets in so late. You talk about late height. She was going up as the corner was coming down. She didn't meet it anywhere, and right across the woodwork. And so many scars there from the Europa Cup race a couple of weeks ago. 60 bobsled crashes, almost all of which would have happened on that corner.
Well, there's definitely some battle scars left there, then, but it's that high pressure. You got to be able to control that, and as they say, bobsleigh pilots say, you block the pressure and you use it to accelerate the sled out of the corner. You can't let it fly up there like that.
Anja Schneiderheinze for Germany led in the women's race after the first heat, narrowly from Alana Myers and Kaylee Humphries, but faded then to 3rd place, and that's why. Too many mistakes, rattled off corner 0 and corner 1. Despite that 5.66 start, that is not going to help her.
What we talked about earlier, you got to get height early so you're not getting that pressure late and sliding off and hitting walls. That's a much better exit there.
Well, she's using Berit Viaca on the back of the sled, who normally breaks for Sandra Kyriasis. So Berit again getting a race. And like Anja Schneider-Heinze, she's a former world champion brakewoman behind Kyriasis. Anja Schneider-Heinze won an Olympic gold medal behind Kyriasis in Torino as well. So she's got plenty as a brakewoman. She's going to earn her own as a driver. She's late there, but gets away with it. 6/10 in front of Jasmine Fenlater and USA 1. Wow, 57.36. That's a good slide.
Corner 14 was real nice there. A low line, lots of pressure, able to accelerate through. And because it's such a big uphill on the way through that corner, if you have that sled floating, you're taking a longer distance to get to the finish line. It's a nice line through there, and she created speed and made time.
Well, it looked a little rocky at the top. She had a moment in the labyrinth as well. Look at this. Gets a little late off the corner.
Ich weiß nicht, was ich machen soll. Jetzt bin ich böse. Ich habe eigentlich hereinlaufen lassen.
Well, corner 1. Talking about there. Meanwhile, we have 2 sleds to go. Canada 1 and Germany 1. Canada 1, just a couple of hundreds behind Germany 1 after the first heat. And now the Olympic champion, Kaylee Humphries, has won 6 straight World Cup races in women's bobsleigh since the end of last season. The last woman to do that was Jean Pram, Jean Racine, as you may know her. That was back 12 years ago. That's how good Kaylee Humphries is getting. Nobody's done it since, not even Sandra Kyriasis.
A good start by the rookie, and Kaylee. Chelsea's enjoying a very good rookie season so far with all these victories.
Yeah. Chelsea Valois joined at the beginning of the season. She's had 4 races and 4 wins. I said in the women's race, she does not know even what second tastes like. And they want to take the lead now for Canada 1.
Nice aerodynamic profile, smooth out with a bit of a skid at the back end.
Well, this is such a winning combination. They must be on such a high. And again, nice, neat lines there. Much neater than Anja Schneider-Heinze. So she's opened up from 1/4 second to 4/10 nearly over Germany 2. Eric Nielsen there in the shot as the leader. There you go, wrestling with the Germans for camera time as ever, Faceman. 57.20 slide, a 3400ths of a second lead. Now that is Kaylee Humphries' shot to put Canada into the lead halfway through this team's competition. When like all drivers, like all sportsmen, she's going to be ultra self-critical, but that was a neat, tidy drive, exactly what was needed.
We get her...
Quick 2.
Well, she's not, can't be that happy. We usually get a wave out of her.
Yeah, maybe she's all waved out. So, end of our heat then, and don't forget, for each discipline, there's €1,000 for the fastest time. Now, that doesn't mean the leader after the heat, that means the fastest time. I should have just written Kaylee Humphries' time down, shouldn't I? The gap between the teams was, what, 400ths of a second in the first heat? Is that it?
Maybe.
Next up, Sandra Kyriasis and Kristen Zenkel on the back of the Germany 1 sled. Well, listen, Sandra's got a lot to prove. She was the worst German sled in the race this morning, only 9th. She lives here. This is her track. This is, as you would say in Canada, our home, our time. Well, it's her home, but it doesn't seem to be her time anymore.
She'll be looking for redemption, and she's trying to put together as tidy of a run as possible. Is closing the gap a bit, but bobsleigh is 3 parts. You got to have the equipment set up properly, you got to have the drive, and you got to have the start, and the start wasn't there, holding on to 1600ths behind.
1600ths is doable from here, but it has to be the golden touch. Sandra Kyriasis, not the one who drove this morning. 1200ths back. Of course, she knows this track in wet, dry, hot, cold, and every other condition. She may be able to react better. 600ths of a second. Now, this means that she's still trying to undo the deficit. 100th of a second, 57.22 slide. Is that quicker than Kaylee Humphries? Was there more than 100th between them? I think there was.
We gotta get somebody from the booth helping us out here.
Yeah, come on, guys, in the truck. Give me a break here. Let me see if I can play with the timing screen. And, okay, yeah, I can get some gaps. Here we go. Second run. No, it only gives me total times.
Well, that's the experience coming in there with Sandra, and I maybe
I know, she
the
looks
smiles
pretty
and the
happy.
cheers.
She looks pretty happy. They lead by 100th of a second.
But home track, back,
Yep.
you know it like the back of your hand. She has the ability and the know-how to take her lead for her deficit and put it into a lead. 100th of a second, 200th, she's in the green at the bottom. That's all that matters. She could be coming away with €1,000, but she put her team into a very good position going into our second discipline, third heat.
Absolutely. I think if she's taken the money, then Germans are doing pretty well. Frank Rommel pocketed $1,000. She may have pocketed $1,000 as well. There might be a bit of a party going on. It'll go. I'm sure that they will have had an arrangement for it to go into a kind of a fund to be divided up between all the participants. But at the moment, Germany leads 100th of a second in it. Canada in second. Germany, the USA, and then USA, Canada, Austria, and Romania. So halfway through the competition, men's skeleton and women's bobsled have gone. We're still no nearer to knowing who is going to win this. It's a battle to the death between Germany and Canada, it would seem. We have to see what the women's skeleton and the two-man bobsleigh produce. We're halfway through. Lots more to come here in Winterberg.
So, liebe Zuschauer, wie wir schon gesagt haben, nach der Reihenfolge der Plätze 1 bis 8 wird jetzt auch im dritten Lauf gestartet, und zwar in umgekehrter Reihenfolge. Das heißt, die schlechteste Zeit haben, starten als Erste. Und das bedeutet, der dritte Lauf, Skeleton der Frauen, beginnt mit Rumänien 1, Mazilu. Zweiter am Start, second to start, Österreich 1, Janine Flock. Dritter am Start, third to start, Canada 2, Hollingsworth. Vierter am Start, the fourth to start, Team United States 2, Michael Space. Dann fünfter am Start, the fifth to start, Team United States 1, Eulander. Sechster am Start, the sixth to start, Team Deutschland 2, Anja Huber. Siebter am Start, the seventh to start, ist dann Kanada 1, Canada 1, Cassie Horridge.
Oh, 1 second. Kaylee, fastest time in that discipline, €1,000. Pretty good day for you here in Winterberg.
I know, I'm super stoked. This day turned out to be awesome. I thought Winterberg hated me, honestly, but this day has been very epic. I'm really stoked about today.
Enjoy the moment. Canadians only down by 100th of a second, right?
No. Oh, we still have women's skeleton and men's bob. I think we can do it. We can bust it out.
So you've had a pretty good trip to Europe so far. Give us a quick overview of your vision of bobsledding.
Well, didn't know what to expect coming into Winterberg, and I really like this place. It's a lot of fun, and we're doing really well. Bobsleigh so far has been great. I mean, being on Kaylee's team is a great accomplishment, and we're, couldn't ask for more, so it's good.
Congratulations. We've got one more interview if you want.
Welcome back to Winterberg in Germany, the excitement building. We're halfway through the first teams competition of the 2012-13 season, and the drummers are still going. They've been going since lunchtime there down in the Kreisel. So this team competition is pretty unique. 4 different disciplines for each of the teams that have entered. 1 men's skeleton slider, a women's bobsleigh run, a women's skeleton run, and then finishing it off the run from the two-man bobsled. And it goes discipline by discipline. So skeleton, women's bob, women's skeleton, and then the two-man bob to finish it off. The start order is a random draw in Heat 1, and thereafter we go with the leader at the end of each heat to help build the tension, as if we needed any. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Jessie Lumsden from Canada, who was in the medals in the men's race earlier on this afternoon in the two-man. And Jessie, 100th of a second separating Germany, who lead, from Canada in second place. So they'll go at the end of this women's skeleton run. No pressure at all, though, on the women's skeleton competitors to try and break that deadlock.
None at all. They've done this 1,000 times before. And with Canada, Cassie Haresh, who is having a wonderful rookie season and did very, very well in her first World Cup race here in Winterberg, but had some rookie mistakes in her second heat and put her out of the podium. So this is a nice redemption opportunity for her to help her team out and get them onto the podium today.
Yeah, she had a great first run, didn't she, in a top 3 position, just drifted away from her, but boy, what a booster for confidence that must be. So 8 sliders to go then in the women's skeleton competition. Romania at the foot of the table at the moment. This is Maria Mazilou from Romania. She's been sliding down World Cup for a couple of seasons. Doesn't do the entire season. Spends all her time sliding in Europe. So she slides in the European races in World Cup and then in Intercontinental and Europa Cup races to gain more ice experience. And there's her teammates banging on the hoardings.
Getting settled nicely before the exit of the grooves. You don't want to be doing that as you exit the grooves. Any sort of slight movement when you don't have pressure on the sled, which you only get in corners, will disrupt your straight line.
She got a decent start, 5.60. Of course, this is the first of our 8 women's skeleton sliders, so she will have the lead at the bottom, at least momentarily.
90 kilometers an hour coming through.
Well, this lighting on the track and the darkness around really changes the dynamic, doesn't it? Not just for the TV, but for the pilots as well, for the drivers, for the athletes. You know, you see everything in a completely different light, literally.
And with this, as you can see, some of the athletes will be wearing, have a daytime visor, have an evening visor. We have a clear visor on this athlete from Romania to allow her to see all what she needs to see coming down this track.
A 59.10 slide for Maria Mazilou. So she completes the run without major dramas, couple of little steering mistakes. But again, for the Romanian team especially, this is extra ice time. Just a bit more competition, bit more experience. Little late there, flops off the wall. She took the steer a little early, and again having to counter steer. Anytime you see the legs come out, that's a real big panic steer. There are her teammates. So 3 of our 4 disciplines now underway. Next up for Austria, Janine Flock. Again, she's only been sliding 3 or 4 seasons in top flight competition, but started as a pre-teen on the track at Eagles in Austria.
Very rangy athlete coming out of the start, holding that sled down to the grooves. As you can see, the eyes looking already into corner 0. They're not looking down in front, they're looking where they want to go. Just like when you learn to drive a car or a motorcycle, your eyes will take you where you need to go. You're looking ahead, you're looking through the corner, feeling the pressures, guiding the sled out of these corners, trying to create those nice lines, just like that.
Nice, smooth run so far, straight down the center of the track. Well, as you said, Jessie, the shortest route from the top to the bottom is a straight line, and you try and make this corner here, the Kreisel, as straight as you can, not meandering up and down through it as pressure takes you. That requires a bit of skill.
95.8 kilometers an hour, a nice tidy run.
It's just a whisker under 60 miles an hour and still building the speed through the labyrinth. This is a really nice looking slide. 125.8 is good pace. The Austrian teammates at the top. Yeah, liking that. 58.53 is the slide from Janine Flock.
She'll be very happy with that run. It was a very tidy run from top to bottom. Not too many big mistakes as we saw. Just clean all the way through, and we saw that lead extend.
Well, they come in 1.5 seconds ahead of Romania. Now, that is going to challenge the Canada 2 team potentially. So next up for Canada, my broadcast partner during yesterday's men's skeleton race, Melissa Hollingsworth.
For those who don't know, at the bottom of Mel's sled there, I Heart, that's the province of Alberta, and beef.
Oh, yeah. Well, she also hearts horses, but in a completely different way as a rodeo rider.
And a very good one at that, and I know she loves being around her horse when she's not on her skeleton sled.
Well, she chooses two inherently very safe sports as her pastimes, obviously. Head first down sheet ice and riding a wild Mustang. Yeah. Nothing like golf or badminton for Melissa. Well, 5-6-0 puts her narrowly in front of the Austrians, narrowly behind the Austrians, rather, from the start. So this is a very tight battle.
It's a tidy run. It's just, we got to see where the speed is at. Slowing down a little bit, 91 kilometers an hour.
Well, her target is to try and keep Canada in front of the Austrians and maybe even move up a little. 0.08 of a second, the gap is just creeping away.
Just slowly losing a little bit of time. Coming into the labyrinth high-speed area, this, you could make it up. And just again, slowing down just a little bit more.
Might be as much of a 1/10 of a second behind at the line. So the Austrians have the lead. They've overhauled Canada. One discipline still to go. The two-man bobsled race might just change that around. Canada 2. Melissa's team, they'll have Chris Spring driving. And the Austrians, of course, will have Jürgen Loacker.
And Canada 2 is going down 1 notch to position 2.
She wasn't overjoyed with the women's race yesterday. I'm not sure that she's going to put that into her scrapbook as one of her best memories of Winterberg.
Catching that little bit of pressure high at the end there always makes it difficult coming into the bottom corners.
I think her diary will read Winterberg, weather good, race not so.
And for her, that's usually the opposite.
Yeah. Now, Noelle Piker's pace. You have to have a decent memory for skeleton to remember Noelle. She's had 2 years away from the sport and has come back as if she never left. Really in electrifying form. 5:58, a good, strong getaway. Again, she's a very tall athlete in the women's pack. She's got a long, rangy frame. It's good aerodynamically. Not broad shoulders to block the air. Her style is so fluid. With that long, rangy body and limbs, you have to be able to have very flexible, be flexible in a movement position as well. So you can use your limbs and use your levers to the best of your advantage at the start. Opening up the advantage now, more than a 1/10 of a second further ahead of the Austrians than after the last heat. And building on that 2/10 of a second, the advantage now, it's going to be nearly 3/10 more than she inherited. That is a big lead, 58.24 slide for Noelle Piker's pace. With a mistake out of 9, able to hold speed and keep it clean through the labyrinth to make such a big lead. Well, that is a good run from Noelle. She's here on tour with her husband and her 2 young kids.
Woo! USA! Woo!
They're having some trouble with the jet lag as we are staying in the same hotel.
Yeah.
I can only imagine it being very difficult for a little guy. And as we can see the exit of 9 here, almost very similar to Melissa, hanging it up late and getting up into the wood, but very happy, as we can see, with her run.
Yeah, and with her teammates. There you go, Alana, Lolo.
Katie Eulander.
Now then, next up, USA 1, Katie Eulander. Team lying in 4th spot. Now, of course, they will want to stay ahead of their teammates. Katie, one of 4 different women to win this season in women's skeleton. In bobsled, up until today, the same driver had won each of the races per discipline. In women's skeleton, it's toss the names in the air and see who comes out on top.
I'm sure we'll see that again when we go to La Plagne next week.
That's a great indication indicator of just how tough it is to be consistent in skeleton. I mean, that's one of the things about Martins Ducour's, the men's slider for Latvia, is his ability to just nail in run after run after run of such high caliber.
Well, tag Superman. Last year, he's definitely the top of the top in men's skeleton.
Well, time for Noelle Piker's pace was a 58.24 slide, and that'll be the target to beat here. She's just slipped behind. Noelle had good speed at the bottom, and a little wild there as well. And it's going to be overhauling time. Yeah, 58.68 slide for Katie Uhlaender. So 4/10 slower than Noelle Piker's pace.
Well, she doesn't know what happened as she comes to the bottom, arms up in the air, no wondering what happened. And it really started when she started getting to the high-speed sections. Had a good start, had a clean top, but speed scrubbed away as she went down and through 9-10 and into the labyrinth.
23.
My suit, my entire suit was falling down.
Two to go, three to go, beg your pardon, in this third of 4 disciplines in the team's competition. Next up, Germany's Anja Huber in the medals in the women's skeleton race yesterday morning actually. So she's raced Friday morning and here now Saturday evening.
It's been a long couple days for you.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah, I just sit down. I don't have to do this stuff. Now then, let's see what she can produce.
Big arm drive coming from Anja. Settled in, exiting the grooves. We're real happy with that.
Yeah, that's a good start.
A little more movement than we've seen with some of the other athletes out of zero. But a lot of room to play with.
Now, the fast run so far is a 58.24 slide. What you're seeing, of course, is the aggregate, the total team gap between USA 2, our current leaders, and Germany 2. But that is coming down. She was 9 tenths in front at the top. She's down to 8 tenths, and that means that she's losing time to Noelle Piker's pace.
95.4 kilometers an hour at 71 hundredths of a second. It's, you know, as we get later into the evening, the conditions are changing, and we're hearing some scrubbing as well coming down the ice.
Well, you always hear that from Anja Huber. You always hear a helmet. Watch as she turns her head quite severely to the left there to keep the chin off the ice in the final corner. They have the lead, but it's a 58.58 slide from Anja Huber to 58.24 of Noelle Piker's pace. Gave away a third of a second there.
She'll be happy to keep her team in the lead at the moment.
Again.
But not quite going home, not going home any richer today.
No, not necessarily. Noelle Piker's pace at the moment looks like she might pocket the cash in the women's skeleton, but it is not yet a done deal. There's Noelle offering her congratulations. Next up, Cassie Haresh, World Cup rookie this season. You've got to say, she is performing like a seasoned veteran.
And she'll be looking for redemption like we were talking about early. Rookie season, had a rookie second run, I guess you could say. Very positive athlete, loves the sport, and is going to be a name for the sport for the time to come.
Yeah, definitely so. 5:55 start.
When she's not sliding back in Calgary, she is a radio personality. 92.9.
She's like the modern generation of athletes all over social media, Facebook and Twitter. You can find Jessie, you can find Cassie, you can find most of the athletes on Twitter and follow them and learn what goes on behind the scenes. Not too much technical detail, but an awful lot of insight into the athlete's life on the road.
It's a fun way to communicate with fans and people around the world, and as we see, 95.5 kilometers an hour and an okay exit at a 9.
You can hear the chin piece dragging on the ice. That shows how high the G-forces are. The Canadians building on their lead. This is a good run from Cassie Haresh, 58.52 slide. And that is quicker than former world champion Anja Huber just managed, so that's a really nice run. Bearing in mind, of course, she's not seen this track before more than once.
Well, she'll be happy with that. She'll be happy to be able to take her team into keep her team in the winner's box for the time being, and she gets out of there, has some cheers, and is having fun.
Well, she raced here once before in Europa Cup, which is the third tier of sliding here in Europe for skeleton sliders. She won that race, so she kind of probably pretty likes Winterberg right now.
As she joins the rest of Team Canada.
Yeah. That's a high 15 there for Team Canada.
Just right there. Put some clothes on.
Yeah, get some clothes on, girl. You freeze. It is dropping outside the temperature. Now then, our leaders after the first heat, our leaders after the second heat by 1/100th of a second. Our Germany won. Now, in the third heat, Marion Thies goes for them. She didn't make it onto the podium. She didn't make it close to the podium in the women's skeleton race. And that's part of the reason. Cassie Haresh for Canada just started 5:55. Marion started 5:82. That's a third of a second almost given away.
Well, she'll have to have a very tidy, very fast top and an even faster bottom if she wants to keep her team at the top going into our fourth heat of the race.
I think the Germans may be looking at coming from behind into Heat 4. Half a second back. The gap is growing to the Chrysler. It should have been shortening by this stage. Can she bring it down? Can she keep them in contention? At the moment, they won't even be second. They will be third behind Germany too.
Well, you wonder if at this point, is it an equipment selection? Is it a runner selection? She's shortened the gap by 100th of a second. 1:26.5 is not going to be enough to keep Germany in the winner's box.
They drop to third. Canada lead by 4/10 of a second. In your face, Frank. Nothing like a bit of honest, good, decent sportsmanship then. Wow. Well, Marion Thies in the women's race found more speed at the bottom. This evening, she just didn't. So, the Canadians came into this run 100th behind. They now lead by 4/10 of a second.
It's going to be an interesting fourth heat here.
Oh, yeah. And what's more, who pocketed the cash? Noelle Piker's Pace pockets the cash, I think, on that run with a 58.24 slide. Well, there is the run for Canada of Cassie Haresh that puts them in the lead. That's a gum shield, by the way. She's not a toothless wonder. There you are, look, there's the smile with all the teeth. There are the standings. Germany, second and third, just 500s apart. But Canada's far ahead of them as the USA are behind. Well, is Christoph Langen going to have much to smile about after this? I'm not sure we're going to get too many Yarvols out of him. We'll find out as our fourth and final discipline heats up the action. The fourth and final run for the two-man bobsled to decide this first team's competition of the season here in Winterberg.
Durch den Lauf von Cassie Haresh. Und das ist die offizielle Ansage der Rennleitung. Jetzt Start des vierten Durchgangs in 4 Minuten. 4 minutes to start of the fourth and final run.
Okay, Noelle Piker's Pace, your birthday today. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks.
And plus, you just had the fastest single run, which means you take €1,000 home to the family.
500. Woo! We're going to Disneyland. Woo! We really are for Christmas.
Was that a better run than you had in any competition yesterday?
It felt really good. And I actually stayed in the groove today, so that did. It felt like the best run I've had all week. It felt really good to pull it all together, that was a PR push, the fastest push I've had all week, and it just came together. So it's really nice that it came together tonight at the team race.
Congratulations and happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Woo! Hey, everybody!
Welcome back to Winterberg in Germany, everybody. Wrapped up warm here alongside the track for the final run of the first teams competition of the Wiesmann FIBT World Cup season. Martin Haven and Jesse Lumsden here calling the action with a bunch of fun athletes here. Jesse, this teams competition is a chance to just enjoy yourself with the other members of your national team.
Well, we had a great day of racing today in women and men's bob, and we're finishing it up tonight at a beautiful night in Winterberg here with the team race as we meet some of the athletes, having some fun. And like we said, it is a good opportunity to race with some skeleton athletes. It puts you really in a great team situation, and I can speak on behalf of the athletes. We hope to see this in the Olympics someday. It really is a, you know, we see shuffling, we see of teams, we see drama, we see excitement, and that's really what it's all about.
Well, this is too tough to call, this race, because the 4 different disciplines, every team has their weaknesses and their strengths. And until the final sled has run, you really just don't know. And of course, the added bonus here is that in each of the disciplines, in men's skeleton, women's bobsleigh, and men's bobsleigh, the fastest performer in each of the disciplines gets a grand in their hand, €1,000. We just heard from Noel Piker's Pace saying they're going to Disneyland for Christmas on the money. So there you go.
Yeah, a little extra spending cash when you're at Epcot Center.
Absolutely.
Wait a second, is Disneyland Florida or California?
Oh, I don't know. Gee.
I can't remember. I used to go to the Florida one, and €1,000 in the pocket would be
Walt Disney World
good.
is Florida, isn't it? And Disneyland is California. I don't remember. Anyway, they're not going to Euro Disney where it'll be cold, grey and closed, so that's where they're going for Christmas. Now into our final heat, as we have the USA chasing Germany and Canada for a medal position. But we go in reverse order, and that means the team that is last and doing the most chasing comes up. Andy Neagu with his teammate, his brakeman, Danut Stancu on the back of the Romanian 2-man sled. Grew up around this Winterberg track. His dad, a former bobsledder as well. Paul Neagu has been living here for well over 20 years. So he's as German as the Germans, even though he slides for Romania, I guess.
5:62 start now. The men, a big skid coming out of 0, going into 1. The men are happy that we were last off today in the team race. Definitely, with just finishing the 2-man bob only a couple hours ago, it gives the athletes a chance to regroup, warm up again, do a little bit of prep to the sleds, and get ready to have some fun.
Well, he had a pretty decent run in the men's competition. Didn't quite make the second heat, was very close indeed to making the second heat on his first World Cup race in Europe. 99.5. Yeah, that's decent speed. Well over 59 miles an hour and still accelerating quite violently down through here. 82 miles an hour through the finish corner. And he comes in with a 56.88 slide. We will see faster. But again, for all the Romanian athletes here, first of all, their team gets a chance to compete with the different disciplines in their nation, and secondly, of course, they all get more ice time. And for Maria Constantin there in the black jacket, it's her first World Cup weekend ever, so she's certainly enjoying every moment of it.
Well, as they wrap up their first or their last discipline here coming into their team box, they won't be there for the longest time, but they will have had some fun, that's for sure.
Absolutely right. Well, joining Chris Spring on the back of the Canada Who sled is Graham Rinholm. Great to see him back in the squad as well.
Graham is their smallest brakeman on the team, but definitely has the biggest heart and has a ton of speed. Takes advantage of every opportunity he gets to slide, and he pushes real hard, real hard.
He was one of the 4 guys in the sled that had that big wreck in Altenburg. The Phoenix has been rebuilt. Chris is racing it still in the 4-man as they all return to fitness.
It was an emotional time for these guys, and they really did rally together. They really pulled through together, and Chris is laying down a good run. He's a competitor, he's passionate, he loves sliding for Canada. He's Australian-born, but he is really taking advantage and loving the opportunities he has to slide with Canada.
Opening up the advantage over Romania, but his target will be to try and catch the next team, which is Austria in front of them. He's got a good opportunity to do it as well. A
little bit late going into the 11th, coming down to the labyrinth.
Romania, the leaders at the bottom, 2 seconds up on the Romanian athletes. His own teammates at the top. Oh, Melissa's been to the hot chocolate stand already. Melissa Hollingsworth and the rest of the team celebrate as Canada take the lead. 56.33 slide for Spring.
Well, he'll be happy with that.
Again, a little bit of redemption. I don't think he felt that he got quite as much out of himself as he wanted in the two-man race earlier.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Happy guy.
Hey, you're beasting up there, eh?
And these guys today are racing for a teammate and a fellow teammate of mine, Tim Randall, who had to go in for an emergency surgery this week, and hoping that he's mending up nicely and going to be back in action in no time.
Absolutely right. So Canada to lead, and this is the team they target as their victims, hopefully. This is Austria, lying in 6th position at the moment. Jürgen Lewacka, and using an alternate brakeman as well, Markus Sammer. Normally a part of his 4-man crew, didn't race in the 2-man today, so keeping as much fresh muscle on the back of the sled as possible.
You see the intensity from Marcus. That's the difference you see in skeleton and bobsleigh. With a brakeman there, they got one job. They got 5 seconds of pushing. You got to be as fired up, extremely intense, and contribute to the sled every step that you take, and help push your pilot to a good position and good velocity, especially at a track like this where you have a slow top. Velocity is very important all the way down and hopefully onto the podium.
It makes a 60-meter sprinter's job look positively straightforward and long distance, doesn't it? You're sprinting over maybe 30 meters of ice here, and half of that is steep downhill, especially at Winterberg.
Well, these athletes make it look easy, but jumping into a very small container at 45+ kilometers an hour isn't the easiest thing into the world, and doing it from the side in a 4-man can be even trickier. If you tune into the 4-man, you will see some action, I'm sure.
Absolutely right. Wow, the Austrians build a lead over Canada too. So with 5 teams still to come, it is Austria that leads. That was a good run from Jürgen Lewacka. He'll be pretty happy with that, I would think. 56.04.
Clean, fast, no major mistakes. Use the pressures to his advantage.
Now, while Jesse talks to you, I'm going to look at a piece of paper that I should have picked up earlier, see what Jürgen set in the first couple of runs of the afternoon.
Well, as you can see, bobsleigh is not the smoothest sport. You can see the head whacking back and forth, and the brakeman might even be a little bit high there. You don't want to see any part of the brakeman. You want to see a nice low, no shoulders, so that wind turbulence can go over top of the pilot's head and roll off nicely, not creating any disruptions.
Well, 56.04 for Jürgen Lewacka, nearly 2/10 quicker than his first run. But what can this man do for the USA? Previous to today, undefeated in 2-man action this year. Like Lewacka, rubs all the way down the right-hand wall there, though. Little bump off corner 1 for Stephen Holcomb,
who's had a tremendous start to the season in the 2-man sled.
Yeah,
not as great this week, but the North American 3 races that we had, very dominant force.
Well, Kurt Tomasevich was on the back of the sled in the 2-man race. Justin Olsen takes his place in this team's competition, and they will be paired up, I'm sure, with Stephen Langton in the 4-man race tomorrow.
100 kilometers, 0.3, how many miles an hour?
62.4.
Math is good.
Yeah, math is good. And when it's written down for me, I have all the answers. Whoa! USA 1100s in front. The gap is coming down. What has he got to keep the Austrians at bay? Just enough. Just enough.
Maybe see a Holky dance here. Maybe. We'll see.
I haven't seen one of those for a while.
I know.
Yeah.
And like a veteran pilot, steers the nose out.
Yeah.
Right onto the tarmac.
Make life easy for yourself if you can. You've got some speed. Holcomb previously undefeated in the 2-man discipline. Of course, the world champion. But so far this season, he's shown everybody a clean set of heels till he got here. The Austrians thought it was very close. In the end, Holcomb just managed to hang on there.
Well, this is a good prep for some of the men that are breaking in the team race. They're using it as a prep for the 4-man race tomorrow, and Olsen is a big contributor to the night train.
Nick Cunningham next up. Our second US team, USA 2. Chris Langton behind him. Of course, they're in front of USA 1, and Cunningham, the World Cup rookie, will want to do as much as he can to stay in front of Holke.
Keeping it in the family here. Chris Langton, obviously brother of Steve Langton, came from the background of lacrosse at Cornell University. Is a very good player there, and is getting his feet wet in the Bobsleigh World Cup team race.
Well, you know, rodeo riders, bull riders, lacrosse players, CFL, track and field. There's almost no sport yet that has not provided a bobsledder, except for maybe darts and snooker and yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet, not yet.
Good speed for Nick here.
Again, exactly the same as Holcomb, 62.3 miles an hour. He's still 3/10 in front. USA 2 are going to do it. They will stay in front of USA 1. He survived all the danger zones. Nick Cunningham had a really good tour in North America, and he continues with that confidence and momentum.
Well, he is the future of this USA program, and also a Bronco rider back in North America.
Absolutely.
So probably on the same circuit as Mel, as she's doing her Mel Hollingsworth, as she's doing her barrel racing in the rodeo. It's a good fit, though.
Yeah.
Piloting a bobsleigh, riding a Bronco. Definitely not for the faint of heart.
Absolutely not for the faint of heart.
Good lines coming through here, nice and smooth. Nick is in a new sled, a new 2-man and a new 4-man, and it looks like he's having some fun driving it.
Well, originally it was going to be Corey Butner on the entry list, but now it's time for the Germans to try and strive for a gold medal. Germany 1 trailed Germany 2, they're third and second. They're only 400ths of a second apart. Let's see what this produces.
5:45. Push bar was hanging out for a while. You don't like to see that. In some sleds, it's the brakeman's job. Some sleds, it's the pilot's job. It was an unfortunate day today for this team, not getting a second run. As the rules say, you'll get an announcement that the track is clear. Then a green light will go, and that's when your 60-second clock starts. And this team went before the 60 seconds started and was breaking the rules and therefore DQ'd for the second heat.
And in fact, Max Arndt left a minute early. Nobody can quite understand. It wasn't just him and his brakeman. The 2 coaches were there as well, and the sled was put on the ice far too early and left far too early. Instant disqualification, because we have a 2-minute gap between the sleds for safety reasons, to allow you to get one out of the track before the next one comes in at 80, 90 miles an hour.
Max will be very happy with this run, and it is a little bit of a redemption run for him. And
absolutely. 56.16 slide. So we'll have a look at that as potentially being one of our fastest. And of course,
some high fives to the crowd here.
Yeah, Max not getting a second run early, as you say. He'll be impressed with himself for getting a clean run in there. There are the German team. Frank Rommel, Miss Germany 1, Sandra Kiriasis, Christian Zenkel and Marion Thies. They'll be joined by Arndt and his brakeman Rennie Tiffert as Manny Mahata and his brakeman step up to the plate, Gregor Birnbach, who spent the whole of last season on the bench with injury.
Well, coming off these injuries, you know he's excited and ready to race every opportunity he gets.
Oh, yeah.
And racing in the Playboy sled with Manny, who's definitely one of the best characters on tour.
Yeah.
Always very, very fun.
Ooh, just very close. Oh, but double tap out of corner 1. Yeah, you're right. Mahata's a real live wire. And, you know, Gregor's desperate to be in this sled because he spent the whole of last season having to listen to me talking on the TV. So he's desperate to get away and be in the track. Now, don't forget, there was only 500ths of a second between the German teams. There's only 700ths in it at the moment.
94.9. We'll see over 100 kilometers an hour possibly on this next speed clock.
He should. 100.3. It's that magic number again. 62.3 miles an hour. So some very good speeds being posted at the bottom of the track. Fastest run so far is with Germany's Max Arndt, and the lead is opening up. He's extended it 55.99 rather for Manny Mahata.
I think that's our first men's sled in breaking 56 seconds.
I think you're absolutely right. Let's fiddle with our timing screen and see what we've got. Yeah, he has the fastest run. Second quickest is Steve Holcomb's time.
Well, good start, good power. The legs driving for the third time today for Manny.
Well, both German teams will be in the medals now. The question is, what is going to happen with Canada 1? Look how close he got. It just bumped there as Gregor jumped in.
Well, as the pilot gets into the sled out of the grooves, there's such a narrow margin for you to get your hands on those D-rings and control the sled. Looks maybe his foot touched it. You never know in that situation, but you got to get your hands down in there quick, get control of your sled, because that kink can be a killer.
Oh, yeah. Now our leaders, they came from behind with their third run. Cassie Haresh put them into the lead now. Lyndon Rush and Neville Wright are looking for gold rush time. 5.21 start. And again, the double tap, almost nobody's got away without that.
Kink, like I said, it can be a killer. A good start, though, by Neville Wright. Strong and powerful. The runners were out of the grooves just for a fraction of a second. But Lyndon is putting together another good run.
Jesse's happy with that start because he put in a 5.18 and a 5.16 earlier, so he's still king of the walk.
Well, I'm just still happy to see these guys in the position that they're in. Absolutely. Nice, smooth exit.
Building the lead. 54 hundredths from 40 hundredths when they started is now out to 0.6 of a second. This is a big drive from Lyndon Rush. Great lines. Half a second will be the margin of victory over the Germans. Very nearly. And 55.94. Who's going to get the grand in the hand? It is Lyndon Rush.
He'll be real happy with that.
Oh, yeah, baby. So, Frank Rommel took it in the men's skeleton. Kaylee Humphries in the women's bob. Noel Piker's Pace in the women's skeleton. And Lyndon Rush takes the €1,000 for the fastest slide in the men's bobsleigh to go with the gold medals for victory in the first team's competition of the season.
Smiling for pictures, getting the arm flex in there. It's been a good day for Lyndon Rush, and he's looking to capitalize, take this momentum tomorrow into the four-man race.
I was hanging on though, but pull the brakes, man.
Do what?
He's got two jobs, he says. Yeah. Push and pull the brakes.
Well, he pushed okay. By the time you missed pulling the brakes in time, that's okay, you've won the race. That'll do nicely. Well, great job by Canada 1. Eric Nielsen, Kaylee Humphries, Chelsea Valois, Cassie Haresh, and the anchor team, Lyndon Rush and Neville Wright, sealing the victory. Some happy, smiling faces there. I think I might touch Graham Richardson up for a cigar later on. I think he'll be in a very benevolent mood. And look at that, the victory margin, 0.45 over Germany 2. And they in turn, 2/10 ahead of Germany 1. Well, we'll be back to hear from our winners. This is going to be a fun interview. Stay with us for more.
Winner box.
Great time.
I'm sorry.
Schüssel Luft. Hallo Feldins Fassbrause. Das neue alkoholfreie Erfrischungsgetränk mit wenig Kalorien. In der isotonischen Geschmacksrichtung Zitrone und der fruchtigen Sorte Holunder. Limo war gestern. Heute ist Feldins Fassbrause.
Welcome back to Winterberg in Germany, where Canada have won the first teams competition of the season. The German squad's making up the podium finishes ahead of the USA. We've got a lot of interviewing to get in the next 2 minutes. Let's get down amongst the mad Canadian winners. Here's John Morgan with more.
They're giving it. They can't give away 16 beer or 12 beers or 18 beers, so they're giving away 1 beer to each team here. And of course, Veltins has been such a big part of sliding here in the Sauerland. So we're going to get over to the third place team. Frank Rommel. Frank, good day for you and your team. You win a bronze medal, but you win the bunny too.
Yeah, I had a really good race today, and team is now third place, and we're happy. And it was a good team event, and great race from the Canadians, and they won. Yeah.
Good comeback from Max, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Max. Okay, congratulations, Deutschland. Okay, over here to Germany was the silver medal. And Anya, why don't you stand? Your English is good. All right, so silver medal here is a good result.
Yeah, I think we would be happy if we won, but the Canadians were faster than we were, so we're happy, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. We could slide faster here.
Well, silver medal in the team competition. Congratulations, Germany. Gregor's back. Okay, now Canada. Good day for Canada. Oh, yeah. Kaylee, we'll let you talk. You won that big purse by 100th of a second, but how about the rest of your team?
Lyndon got it as well, so we're stoked. This is an amazing team, and we really pulled it out today, so I'm very proud of all my teammates.
Where are you spending the money tonight?
I have no idea yet. I got to talk to Lyndon. We'll see. I want to know what he's spending it on first.
That might have been your best trip of the day.
Well, I don't know. It was felt okay. We had a little bit of a bump going into 9, but I thought it was okay.
Well, congratulations, Canada. Great day for everybody.
John Morgan with our winning team, Cassie Haresh with a beer that weighs very nearly as much as she does. My thanks to Jesse Lumsden for joining me in the booth here, to John Morgan and the rest of the FIBT TV crew here in Winterberg in Germany. My thanks too for you for joining us for this fun competition. Don't forget, 4-man coming up tomorrow, Sunday in Winterberg. We'll see you then. I'm Martin Haben. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.